Right, well, welcome to the channel. Unifrance, just like a French cinema group, has condemned what they deem to be called a violent reaction to the Netflix film Cuties. Now, as far as I was aware, all that's happened is a bunch of people have spoken about it and gone, no violence has been exacted on anyone. Literally no violence at all. So I guess what they're referring to here is the verbal outrage, which goes to show the French cinema group are a bunch of PAGs. Now, a PAG is a participation award generation, basically a snowflake. Just a person that wants it all for nothing. How can you deem the reaction to be violent when no violence has been enacted? Just words. Harsh words, maybe, but they're just words. I mean, I could say using the term violent reaction is quite using your own logic anyway, a violent reaction, surely. Such nonsense. But of course they would defend it. Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Shall we dive into this? This is on the Hollywood Reporter. This isn't going away, even though Netflix changed the name. They're trying to bury it. They changed the name, they're changing the pictures, everything. You're not going to win this one, Netflix. Sadly, the people have spoken. And there's so many people that jump into the comment section of any video I do about this movie and they just defend it tooth and nail. And I just go, look, that's fine. Okay? Questionable taste. You know, questionable that you're defending it. But everyone's coming from the perspective of, hey, probably shouldn't have cut. Well, most people anyway, coming from the perspective of, hey, probably shouldn't have cast actual children in this. When you're making the actual children do things that could, you know, actually be reused as CP. Maybe that's wrong. You know, maybe they're going to really regret this. Maybe the kids are going to grow up and go, Mum, Dad, why did you cast me in this? Why? You know, especially when we have historical documented evidence and anecdotes from past child actors, how they never wanted to be part of it. Never to do the things that they've done, and it's disgusting and awful stuff. But no, I guess their lived experience doesn't count when it suits your narrative. Oh, defenders of Cuties. And YouTube likes to defend Cuties as well. I've had 2 videos demonetized about Cuties. Blocked. In fact, they even stated it was acts of terror or something like that. Baffling. But anyway, let's dive into it, right? So the French cinema group backs Cuties. Director Maymouna Ducrey and decrees that the hate messages, insults, and unfounded speculations about the intent of the director and her producers. Ridiculous. So, I don't think anyone... It's funny, isn't it? You can't question it. You know, you're not allowed to question these things anymore. I've done some videos on this and people are like, oh, you're just right-wing talking about this. It's like, if it's right-wing to not want kids to be sexualized, well then yeah, I'm right-wing, I guess. I mean, come on, behave. It's not even a political thing. It's just morally, like ethically, to be fair. You know, kids shouldn't be sexualized. Sorry. I know, out there way of thinking. But that's not political. That's moral. That's ethics. But apparently that's politics now? Bizarre. Really bizarre. But you can't question it. You're not allowed to question it, because then you get called everything under the sun. So French cinema group Unifrance has condemned what it called the violent reaction online and on social media to Netflix film Cuties, and has thrown its support behind the movie's director, Maymouna Ducrey. In a memo sent out to the French industry on Friday, Unifrance, a state-backed group that supports and promotes French cinema worldwide, said it offers its full support to Ducrey and the film's French producers, who have come under attack from online trolls who accuse the director, Netflix, and anyone connected with the movie of basically sexualizing children. Now, it's interesting how the Hollywood Reporter are framing this as well. You know, from online trolls, people just talking about it and saying, hey, look, I mean, the marketing's a bit odd. Who's it actually for? Because adults know that, you know, sexualizing kids is wrong. And if you're going to be aiming it at those who would potentially be, looking to sexualise children, probably shouldn't be marketing it in such a fashion, because they're probably just going to go and jank their jimmies. Do you know what I mean? But that's online trolls? Really? Hollywood Reporter, mate, I question you massively now. I question Scott Roxburgh. In fact, let's have a look at... I can't. Is Scott Roxburgh? No, that's me tweeting it. I'm not tweeting that. Anyway, whatever. I always like to see who defends this movie, because they all look the same. They all look a bit questionable. Continued further and says, over the past several weeks we have been closely following the exceptionally violent reaction to the film in the United States during a presidential election campaign in full swing. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. And it's not a violent reaction. No violence has been enacted. Some words were spoken and people said, hey, look, that CP looks a bit gross. In this context, Unifrance and all of its members wish to pledge their full support to Maimouna Ducouré and to, reaffirm their commitment to supporting the freedom of artistic creation and expression. Okay. Problem is, you don't get to decide that. It's like a comedian, right? Comedians don't get to decide what's funny. You can make a joke and some I don't know, subtly homophobic jokes can be funny. Some subtle jokes tackling heterosexuality can be funny. Some subtle jokes with racial slurs can be funny. But if you go too far, then the audience, not you as the comedian, decide that that's not funny and is then deemed to be, as an audience, as the majority, to be massively offensive and not okay. And it's the same thing with this. You don't get really to decide what forms of artistic creation and expression are acceptable. The wider populace does, and they've spoken. Now, that does somewhat lend itself to mob mentality, but I guess unfortunately, that's the nature of putting stuff out there. Not everyone likes my videos. What? Does that mean I have to succumb to the mob that doesn't? That's just dumb, isn't it? This is because one of the great strengths of cinema is its capacity to reach beyond borders and boundaries and to offer a critical and constructive viewpoint on the world and the excesses of today's societies. I disagree with all of this. I mean, just the point here about how she said she wanted to sound the alarm and to protect our children by putting children in those circumstances. It's hardly protecting, is it? It's unreal that that's the sort of mentality you have on it. But then THR defends it even further and say that did not stop the online pile-on. Since then, the CUTIES scandal has gone viral and been taken up by conservative pundits and online supporters of the QAnon conspiracy theory, which alleges widespread CS abuse among so-called Hollywood elites. Well, you're not doing anything for yourselves, are you, here? I mean, we can all agree that it's not right. Can we not all agree that watching 11-year-olds twerk is a bit wrong? It's weird that we can't all agree on that. Like, that's concerning. You don't have to be conservative to look at a child and go, don't want to watch you twerk, that's gross. You don't have to be liberal to think that either. I mean, what the fuck? Unreal. Now, it goes further and says, in recent days, the film has been caught up in pre-election rhetoric, with several members of Congress calling on French language title to be removed from Netflix's catalogue, or requesting a Justice Department investigation into the matter. But remember, what we saw isn't what was filmed. There's stuff which is left on the cutting room floor. We know that this stuff does happen. There's wide reports of it. But now, because, some conservative-leaning people are questioning it, we're now not to believe the Hollywood elites that have come out and said, yeah, this happened to me when I was a kid. Really? Do you not see the rank hypocrisy there? It is absolutely bizarre. Really weird. Well, it's not weird. I get it, because it doesn't fit the narrative. But of course, it's unclear if any of the politicians or pundits condemning CUTIES have actually seen the movie. And that's the thing. A bunch of people are like, well, have you seen the movie? It's like, I don't want to watch borderline CP. Sorry. My assertion of it, right, having watched clips of it, is that 11 and 12-year-olds twerking on camera isn't right. And that you probably should have hired other people. putting them in those outfits isn't right, then you probably should have hired older people that look younger. I don't need to watch the entire movie to know that. You can make a quick judgment. I'm not reviewing the movie. I'm reviewing the fact that you cast 11 and 12-year-olds in it and made them twerk on stage and show their nips and things like this. It's disgusting. It's gross. But anyway, it continues further, and they got their whole statement there, but it's all crap. Yeah, it's not cool. Not cool at all. Don't defend this film. Very weird. I've been Mr. H. Take care.